History in the making.
Rounded the bend, my wheel became stuck on a rail. As hard as I tried, I couldn't get it over. But I could feel the weight of the track shifting, and I knew the bridge wasn't going to hold much longer. With nuts and bolts flying around me, I tried again and finally got loose, just as the bridge collapsed around me.
I thought the bridge didn't collapse until after you stopped, Gordon, not while you were on it.
Well,
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, sir.
Now, I have some exciting news. We are going to open a brand new exhibition here at the castle.
That sounds amazing, sir. What's the exhibition about? Ancient ruins? Age-old talismans? Maybe about the first steam engine to run the rails?
Or maybe old engines telling tales taller than their funnels.
Well, it's not exactly a new one. I've recently purchased some more medieval artifacts from the mainland, some never seen before.
Who will collect them, sir?
Well, the star attraction is bringing them right now.
Good tidings to all! Ha ha! Ah, Sir Robert, such an honour to make your acquaintance once again. I must say, what a magnificent castle you have, sire.
Ah, Preston, welcome. So glad to see you. I'd like you to meet my engines, Stephen, Glyn, Millie, and Duke.
Ah, like the noble musketeers they may be. Alas, 4 is one too many.
Is he alright?
Quite frankly, I have no idea. He might have a rivet loose or something.
Now we have a lot to do. Glyn, I need you to set up the exhibition in the castle grounds. Duke and Millie, I need you to take the groundskeepers around the estate and tidy up the loose brush. And Stephen, I want you to take care of our guests.
Of course, sir. Come along, young'un.
Right away, sir.
Tell me, Preston, was it? Have you ever had any daring adventures? I once had to rescue an engine from a collapsing bridge.
Cocky but noble. I like you already, dearest Stephen. Well, I used to take tourist trains through the hallowed lands ruled by higher royalty and knights of yore. I've been on quite a number of quests in my time. Why, once I saved a young prince from a hideous furry creature. Ho ho, yes, those were the golden days. Alas, not much is remembered about those days.
You've really seen knights in shining armour.
Indubitably, my dear chap. In fact, I am one of those knights.
Really? You're a knight?
Stephen, I've been informed that the bakery is ready for you. Could you take Preston to collect the afternoon teas for me?
Of course, sir. Come along, Preston.
Ha ha! Let us commence forth. As Stephen and Preston puffed towards the bakery, Stephen was having second doubts about Preston's stories.
Preston, I must ask, as I'm sure you know, if I was the first engine built, how are you able to serve a prince and become a knight?
Oh, you ask too many questions, Stevenson, my boy. That reminds me of an old tale of a lord who asked too many questions.
Really? What happened?
He had his head chopped off by the king's guards!
What?
Only joking, my dear engine. Many of the townspeople grew tired of his constant barrage of questioning. They all took an oath never to speak to him again. Poor man went insane.
Ha! I find that hard to believe.
After many stories of the old days, Stephen and Preston arrived at the bakery. The bakers soon loaded Stephen's trucks full to the brim with cakes, scones, and many other baked goods. One baker was loading the final crate when...
Whoa! Nice going, dumbass.
Whoops.
Oh dear. A sad day is upon us.
What are you going on about now?
In my old days of being a knight, one of the castle chefs dropped a tray of buns that was to be served to the young prince. The poor baker was thrown into the dungeons for the rest of his days. May the Lord shine light upon your dark days ahead, my good man.
What? We can just make another batch. It won't take long.
I'm sure Sir Robert won't be upset over one batch of cakes, Preston.
I've seen it happen many a time before. Dare I say, the outcome has never changed. Now then, let us commence forth!
Preston, what are you doing?
Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name.
Preston!
Hush now, Stephen. It is customary that at 2 o'clock on the dot that we recite the Lord's Prayer, for it shall bring good tidings to our King, and let him rule over our fair kingdom.
But you can't just stop on the main line.
What's this? A foreign attacker? Come to joust upon my rails! How dare you? Have at thee!
Preston!
Get out of my way! Express coming through!
Charge!
What on Sodor? You silly engine! Get your smoke box checked out, you maniac!
Preston! That was a very dangerous thing to do!
You saw the look in his eyes. A noble knight must stand his ground.
You're not a knight, Preston. You're just crazy! We're going straight back to the castle. I'll be having stern words with Sir Robert.
But, Stevenson, my old friend, I'm
not your friend, Preston. Friends don't tell fibs or nearly cause accidents. I don't think it's a good idea for you to be working with me or being at the castle. This is a big event Sir Robert is planning, and you're going to mess it up.
But Oh. Stephen and Preston soon arrived back at the castle, and Stephen went to find the Earl.
That Preston, thinking it's the old days. I thought I was losing it, but...
Poor engine. You say you saved him from scrap?
Who's he talking to?
Yes, he was so full of life, I just couldn't leave him there.
Ah, Stephen, I'm glad you're back. I'd like you to meet Mr. Conrad, Preston's owner.
It's a pleasure, sir. May I ask, were you talking about Preston?
Ah, yes. I was just telling Sir Robert how Preston came into my possession.
And how did you come to purchase Preston?
Well, you see, many years ago... Preston used to be a display piece, a roadside attraction if you will. He used to live at a Renaissance fair, like a regular fairground, but all decorated as if it was in the medieval times. Preston was dressed up in old sheets of metal and made to look like a knight. I took my family every day to see him. All day he would stand outside in the hot sun, wet rain and sometimes harsh snow. He was poorly mistreated, but loved the medieval atmosphere. He donned a new character, so to speak, Preston, the brave knight of old. When the fair moved to a new town, they couldn't afford to take Preston, so he was left there, covered in rust metal and left to rot. I found him one day while on a walk with my family. Poor Engine was yammering about the days of old. I think he may have taken his character a bit too seriously, to avoid thinking about his inevitable end. So I paid for his restoration. I loaned him to a small branch line on the mainland. He pulled many tourist trains and was the line's favourite engine. When the line closed, the other engines went on to other railways. Only problem was, I couldn't find many railways who will take an engine who thinks he's a knight. Sir Robert told me about his new exhibition and said Preston would make a great addition to the castle. I've just come to see how he's getting on.
Stephen was at a loss for words. He didn't realise all the things Preston went through.
So, those stories about young princes and servants being mistreated?
They were actors and staff. I'm sure he told you about the chef being sent to the dungeons.
Yes, he did.
The man only dropped a tray and got told off. Nothing happened to him.
And the young prince?
My son, actually. He loved kings and queens, so he dressed up as one whenever he went. Preston doesn't recognise him now, sadly.
So, Preston thinks he's a medieval knight to forget about nearly being scrapped?
I believe so.
Stephen felt awful.
Sir, I must be truthful with you. I've been very rude to Preston. I thought his stories were all made up to make him seem more interesting. But now I see why he tells them. We must let him stay at the castle. There would be no other place where he would fit in.
I see. Well, thank you for being truthful, Stephen. While I sort out the arrangements for him, I think you should go and apologise to our guest.
Right away, sir. Preston?
Oh, hello, Stephen.
Preston, I wanted to say I'm sorry. It was wrong of me to get cross. I know now that you are a very useful engine. And a brave and noble knight.
Really? Do you think so?
I know so. Although we may want to keep your joust with the Express between us.
Oh, yes. Indubitably.
Now come on. We need to protect the castle grounds from invaders. Can you lead the way, Preston, the brave knight of old?
Why, yes. Of course, absolutely. Let us go and commence forth.
Let us commence forth.
Come on, Stevenson, my boy. Oh, keep up. The day of the exhibition arrived, and tourists flocked to the castle. The engines worked hard, taking guests to and from the showgrounds. The biggest attraction of all, of course, was Preston.
You really fought off a huge dragon to save the princess?
By Jove, I did. I huffed, and I puffed, and went whoosh! Now come on, you rambunctious lot. We have many adventures to explore.
You think he'll be alright now, Stephen?
I'm sure, Glenn. He finally has a place to call home.
Let us commence forth! Ha 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 ha! Stephen and Preston learnt a lot that day. Whether you're the first steam engine built, or you think you're a knight, your friends will always be there. What a well-written story, yes. Yes, that fellow. I know him. Good one, yes. Oh, lovely. Yes, thank you, everyone. The boys, I see.